welcome to Nourishing the Mother, where inspired women talk about the journey of motherhood through the common thread of parenting, relationship, and sexuality as a path to consciousness. We ask, in what ways can we show up more fully, live more meaningfully, parent more wholly, and love more unconditionally? How can we mine the wisdom from the experiences of our lives and expand into those challenges? If you are here, you care about paving a path of conscious and intentional motherhood, connected with yourself and your gifts, and also illuminating your children in theirs, so we may raise more whole humans who can impact this world in a more humane way. And if you feel like giving a little back to this free content, please become a patron of the show and receive extra member benefits for less than a coffee a month. Or you can leave a review on iTunes and Facebook, all of which helps the podcast keep going and reach more mamas who need this type of tonic for the soul. Head on over to patreon.com/NTM podcast to find out more. We are Julie Tenner and Bridget Wood, and we are so grateful you're here.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is We Want Kind, but we get the shit show.
Mostly because I really wanted to put shit show in a podcast title.
We promise we're not going to giggle the whole way through.
No, we're not. There will be some pearlers.
We have had some funny conversations just pulling a title together though, haven't we?
We have.
Okay, before we get into the shit show that is the flip of the kindness advent, we would love to remind you to jump onto nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe, where once every now and then we shoot you off an email with everything we've put out in the world so you can be the first to know, jump in on what's hot, go a little deeper, and do whatever it is you want to do to nourish your inner mother a little bit more. So nourishingthemother.com.au.
So you may well be aware that we have been running this fantastic kindness advent collective, I suppose, and it's super duper inspiring.
I have to say, like, I have been loving, as I just said to you, I have been loving the shit out of it. Like
it's really awesome.
Like,
I don't know about you, but my kids are like
amazing.
super excited to see what it is every day.
Yeah.
You know, like it creates a palpable sense of a countdown to Christmas in a way that's really meaningful and a lot less, I think, overwhelming, because it feels
not so laden with sugar either.
Yeah, laden with sugar or laden with you know, endless requests and wanting. There's a really nice balance to the neediness that kids can often have around Christmas.
Yeah. And we've just had some really beautiful experiences together, like actually just delightful things that if we were not doing this,
wouldn't have happened.
we just wouldn't have done because life just fills up.
Those things get easily crowded out.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff. Yeah.
Like we've made beautiful crafty things and then we've turned those into, you know, like gift tags and cards and we've just booked Emma off to the nursing home next week, and so we've made stuff for just like really beautiful stuff. We made kindness notes that we put on, you know, car windshields and today they went and hid dollars in the $2 shop.
So you did that. Hugo was like, I want to keep $2. And I'm like, and that's exactly the reason why we're going to do it. Because again, and I think that 6-year-olds are particularly funny with this kind of thing. So I love it because it is helping them stretch beyond their world, which is what all of these things do.
And to be honest with you, I mean, as I've been talking to you about this advert for years, like how many years have I been talking to you about it?
Yeah.
And every year I'm like, this year I'm gonna do it, and then life just takes over and you don't. And so this year
you do like, you know, you and I would do bits and pieces of it, but it never quite got off the ground.
No, it's not a consistent thing or message or, you know. Anyway, so I said this year we're going to do it and we're going to have a tribe and we're all going to be accountable and it's going to be awesome. And it has been. I'm really grateful that we've done it because had we not committed to it in that way with that like phenomenal group, we wouldn't have done it. You and I wouldn't have done it.
No, we wouldn't have. Because, again, like the group and what we set out to do has kept us personally accountable to continuing to show up through it and not let life crowd it out, you know?
Yeah.
But I have chuckled to myself a number of times knowing the fact that as soon as you choose kind of a one-sided position or to try and champion a particular emotion or take a poll, I suppose, you're going to find its opposite and you're going to meet it in every which way through yourself. So maybe you're not feeling particularly kind for a couple of days in a row and you're asking yourself to be kind and generous and you just don't fucking want to.
Yeah.
Or your kids don't, right? So your kids are like just not really vibing it and pushing back, to the point where my 3-year-old often says to my son, Hugo, Christmas is not all about getting. You've got it. It's about giving too. Like she's just parroting me, which is pretty hilarious. You hear yourself reflected back in your 3-year-old, and you say something. Good. You say something a lot. But I thought it was really worthwhile us talking about, when we strive for these, beautiful, cultivating generosity of spirit and in our kids, and we get pissy at them for not doing it, and that often that is a mirror reflection back to those parts of us that really don't feel like it and are really kind of enjoying being pretty fucking selfish, for example. And so that's what I mean when we talk about shit show is that sometimes you're striving for this perfect, beautiful, like, I don't know, veneer of perfection and generosity and giving, and you're getting the complete opposite. And it's like on one big cosmic joke.
Yeah.
Have you had experiences like that too?
During this Advent?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't know if any of you were in the group and you happened to watch my Fimo polymer clay decoration making with my 4 children.
Yeah.
That was a fucking shit show.
I didn't get to watch it all.
Well, it's extensive.
In what context was it a shit show?
Just nothing went to plan. And I was like, well, we're live. We're locked in.
We're not escaping
too late now.
Well, I mean, even I tried to do the beeswax candle making, and two of my kids, my 2 oldest kids pissed off and played Lego, and then Pearl wouldn't sit in the high chair, and so in the end it was just me going, this is how you roll the beeswax. Going, this is a great family activity.
I haven't done it yet.
Look at me, just doing this on my own. I really love connecting with myself.
The other one for me was writing the kindness notes.
Oh, yeah.
My girls were right into it, like freaking loved it. And they're looking up Dr. Seuss quotes and like all sorts of stuff. And my son is like the epitome of the grumpy Grinch in the corner of the room. And I'm like, get you over here and write a kindness note.
You've got to be kind, damn it.
Right. And he's like, oh, I don't want to. This is so embarrassing. And I'm going, you know what? We're writing kindness notes. And tonight when I take you to basketball, I'm going to walk through the basketball car park and put them on everybody's windscreens.
I do a love heart. Love. Hate.
I did. Open me. Love heart. And he's like, oh, because he was watching the girls just write like one after another, you know. He's like, how many do I have to write? I said, just write one. That's all I'm asking for, Heath. One piece of kindness out of you.
It was the last thing I do.
And so we wrote one. And then so that night I was driving him to basketball. It was in the city. So it was at this enormous sporting complex in the city, filled with people, filled with cars. And he's making that little rainbow notes. He goes, bit of love for your windshield, bit of love for your windshield. And he just walked off. He walked off in. He's like, can I have money to get in? I'm like, nope.
You can wait.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
And what else? I've definitely this Christmas period felt like crazy stretched.
Yeah.
Crazy stretched. I think more than I remember feeling at any other Christmas. So I've had to really like something other than ninja. What's like next level ninja. What's like Star Wars, like Jedi. That's what I'm looking for. I've had to be Jedi in watching my inner dialogue because you think what you feel and you feel what you think, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so aware of that, and I'm so aware that I actually have total power to change it if I want to.
But if you find yourself not wanting to, there's something you're getting out of it too.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like we're doing the Serenity Now Tool Kit, which we're doing Tuesday and Thursday, and you and I sat down a few weeks ago and mapped out exactly the tools that we were going to give, because for us they seem, I don't know, effortless or just part of what we do, but realising that it's not necessarily that simple, but it is actually the ability to do that sits upon a skill set and pulling that down into tangible things that people can do to do that. But it really made me realise how much that is still an absolute practice for me. Like, I don't have to think about it anymore. Like,
but it's still
it's consciously, I'm here, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here, I could do that. Okay, that wasn't enough, do this. Like, it's still, it's not like you get to this point where you're like, all good.
So it's like water off duck's back, this whole parenting thing. Oh, you know, this whole life thing.
Yeah, like no matter where you are doing whatever you're doing, you're feeling the exact same emotions to any other human on this planet, and no human is spared from the experience of humanness.
No, but it's what you choose to do with those feelings. Like, do they flick out unconsciously and they become everybody else's problem, or do you catch yourself when you notice you're heading down a spiral that feels out of control or that feels unsafe or whatever it is for you, and go, oh, okay, we're here. What do I need now to get back into balance? Which is, you know, what we talk about in gifting our kids too. But it's for ourselves. Wow, I'm feeling XYZ, or I'm really stretched right now. You know, and I've found that quite a bit in terms of just trying to fit, you know, Advent and dinner and housework and work around jumping between a baby and a 3-year-old and what they need. Yeah. And it's like moment to moment sometimes with it, to work on those tools so that I'm not making it my 3-year-old's problem that she needs something from me because I'm stretched, right? Because it can be so easy to make the problems that we're experiencing someone else's responsibility, even our kids, even unconsciously, because if that's a story that our own mothers had where they were stretched, someone's got to feel that. Right, someone's got to be responsible for that. Even though it makes no sense to make your children responsible for that, that can sometimes be what happens. And so that practice of knowing what we need to ground down into our bodies and bring awareness to whatever pattern's playing out for us, bring awareness to putting ourselves in our children's shoes and what they're asking of us so that we can meet that more authentically as opposed to being stuck in a story. That is absolutely a practice. And I think that, you know, the nature of parenting as an evolutionary tool means that we're going to be continually asked to stretch those capacities and practice them. And also, the more I think that we embody those practices, the more we then become a really powerful force in the family unit for regulating our partners, which I really see happening in my family. The more I can know where I'm in that place and regulate, it's like the whole system re-regulates as a result. And there's more, I think, health in that system because I can be that regulatory capacity, and likewise, because those are my skill sets, my husband unconsciously also begins to embody more of those too, because that's where you level to, right? Like water seeks its own level, that's where the partnership levels at. And it's a beautiful thing to start to see those patterns play out, I think, you know, and then I can be feeding my baby. Even tonight, like I was feeding my baby and I could hear a glass break. My 3-year-old dropped a glass and I heard my husband's beautiful, like, calm reaction to her, and I thought, oh, it's so nice to hear that, like, you know, what it could have been so different had he not been able to regulate, right? Or not being able to observe his stress and respond consciously to that stress or that frustration as opposed to just react, you know. And I think that that's what's really powerful when we start to use these tools as a practice constantly, that they become the family's practice, which our kids then benefit from. Yeah. I'm looking at you going, What else you got?
What else I got? Just to play, I suppose, a bit of devil's advocate for that, the interesting thing is I have a very well-rehearsed masculine. So being the container is far easier for me than being the filler of the space. But because I've been so stretched or had the perception of this is new leveling for me, new territory, I'm actually like way more unstable. So way more red hot mess. And there's something about that is ridiculously enticing to my husband and just completely shifts the family dynamic.
So you mean he loves your red hot mess? Like he loves it when you
all of a sudden
can't handle it?
Yeah, well, it's not even can't handle it. I'm just like a bit more unhinged, I suppose, and a bit more like he'd be like, well, what are we doing here? Where are we going? What's happening? You know, where is everyone? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what is happening. I've missed that. I don't know what this, I don't know where we're, like, I don't know.
Like it's almost like the damsel in distress.
I don't know. I've got no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, okay, we'll do this. I'm like, oh, thank God. That's fantastic. You know, so it's just, it's an interesting level. I don't mean red hot mess in the context of
completely out of control. Like.
Not emotionally out of control, because I understand the skill set enough to know that my stuff is my stuff.
Yeah. My
stuff isn't, I don't have a right to throw my stuff out on you. Although when you hit a new edge, often you meet that. And I have met that more with my son at this point in his, he's finished school a few weeks ago now. So he's like my stay-at-home husband almost, like, because we're together 24/7.
How lovely.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. But the flip is then he sees me, work, kids, you know, I'm like here, and then we had something the other day and he didn't do something, and I snapped at him, and then I went, whoa, because I could see him kind of like, you know,
flinch or something.
Yeah. And I was like, sorry, that was really out of line. I'm actually feeling really stressed about this. And I just threw that out at you. So I'm really sorry that I just did that. It's not, I didn't mean for that to happen for you or to you. And he just like went, yeah, I get that. That's cool. And then he helped me do the thing that I was actually not telling him about. And I just thought this whole thing is like fucking amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah.
So I think when all of a sudden you can have a level of emotional awareness and tools, to have emotional awareness, you've got to have tools that match that. You know, it's not one thing to just be like, I'm angry, I'm wild, I'm, you know.
And expect your world to just adjust to that.
Right. Yeah. To be able to be literally everything that is triggering me in my world is me.
Yeah.
Is mine.
And so you can be those things, but it's about, I know I'm feeling this right now, and I know I need to create space for this. So how do I make that safe for those around me, or how do I create the container for that? Yeah. For me to move within.
Yeah.
In that state.
Yeah. Or how do I, even if I don't feel like I'm...
And that's where I see the masculine actually loving to provide that.
Yeah.
Which is what you're saying here, is you're saying how, like, when you are in that red hot mess kind of space of, I don't know, that it gives them this chance to go, I'll take over.
Yeah.
You know, and there's an enormous kind of providing in that.
Yeah, it's super gorgeous. I can't think of what I was going to say then.
I don't know either. I think I kind of jumped in.
No, that's totally cool. I can't think. I think I was just thinking about tools. I was just thinking about the fact.
And how, you know, you can have emotional awareness, but you also need to have the tools that go with that to make that.
Yeah, like I just think that's an enormous capacity to know I might be feeling really crazy, but there's still a level, like I don't have to be, that's what I was going to say. I don't have to be completely, in inverted commas, regulated or like my old self in order to be safe and secure in the feeling of an emotion. I think it's an illusion to chase like I used to be or, you know.
Because you're never going to be who you used to be, because you're always being called to level up. You're always being called to grow into more.
Right. You're always changing. So trying to go back to who you were is counterproductive and intuitive.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that in and of itself is destabilizing, completely strips the human.
And that's also, I think, a very common identity crisis that a lot of mothers hit, where they feel in the overwhelm of motherhood or feel in the overwhelm of family and can get stuck in like this rose-coloured view of how it would be easier.
And actually, do you know what? It's one of the things that makes my blood boil about women and mental health, but I think particularly postpartum, is when they've gone a little crazy, in inverted commas, because they're transforming and there's shit going on, and they actually need help to build a toolkit that goes with their nervous system that's developing and shifting and eliminating. And the systems around them just want to get them back to who she was.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So when we drug you enough that all of that stuff is numbed out or whatever the case may be, oh, good, she's back to her old self. Thank God I now feel more comfortable. We can get on with our lives.
I can now still feel okay being around you because you're who I know you to be.
Exactly.
I mean, and the epitome of that is, the woman who takes 6 or 12 months off maternity leave, off her professional job, and like she goes back and here's your desk and here's your like projects and just slot back in, and you're like, I'm a totally different person right now, but I'll ignore that gnawing sense of identity crisis that's like clutching at my every fiber of my being, because I'm still everything around me is telling me that I'm still this person. So I'll try to clutch onto that to find some semblance of safety here, because that's all the world says I can be, and I think that reinforces it.
Yeah. And I just think there's something in that. Like if we really looked at each of these experiences of deeply triggered or emotional moments as a catharsis, and how can I build a toolkit that levels with this rather than how do I get rid of this or get back to my old calm, normal self. I just think you're undermining yourself and your capacity for transformation, change and power when you're trying to do that. So that's not what we're advocating here. So I guess what I want to say is,
for sure. Yeah.
What we're saying here is we want you to up level and build the level of skillship. I don't know if that's a word, is where you're at or going, as opposed to how do I get back?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, how do I get back to some kind of place of what I think is safe or what I think is who I am? Yeah. Because you're constantly being called to transform and evolve.
And your world will constantly be pushing your edges to do that, right?
And I also think that, we're also being called more and more to train our nervous system to handle more, and this is what this is too. Yeah. This is what these tools are. They are working with your nervous system to be able to meet the stimulus that's coming at it in a more conscious way, so that you can hold more, so that you can transform more in yourself, so that you can meet more of the world, meet more of yourself too, through your kids and through those that you love, so that you can show up in the way that you want to show up, not in a reactionary state as much, right? Because we're always going to react, but we want to react with more mindfulness and responsiveness rather than knee-jerk kind of
reactions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, you want breathing room.
And I think that this time of year, the reason why we've decided to do it now is because this time of year can often amplify all the little niggly things, because there's so much more pressure. There's pressure on relationship. There's pressure on family dynamics. There's, stuff that's been simmering away all year can tend to blow up at Christmas time. Relationship stuff that's being ignored all year can blow up under the pressure of Christmas parties and words, and when there's been too many drinks under someone's belt. And so, to enter into this time of year and to enter into some of these family events with awareness of how you can show up consciously and work with what comes up in you in a way that is healing and empowering is really what we're wanting to gift people with the Serenity Now Tool Kit.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my voice went weird there. I was just really sitting with it thinking, I actually love what we're doing. I love that we're spending one module on parents and one module on partners and one on kids and one on in-laws. God, my in-laws have been some of my biggest teachers.
I'm about to have my in-laws stay for 5 nights over Christmas.
Yeah, it's a big
and so
deal.
I can really see that as a great opportunity, not something to moan about, right? Like, see it for the what I can bring forth that can be beautiful for my family and for myself, and to challenge some of the stories that I have, and really with more consciousness, see the relationships that I can help grow between them and my children, and to really foster between them and my husband, and how I can ground myself in that, as opposed to get stuck in a, you know, in a bit of a story about all things that I think aren't right or don't work or whatever.
No, I get it.
Because I think everybody has on some level an in-law story.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think that there's anyone in the world who doesn't. Because when you marry your partner, you marry their family.
Well, you marry their shadow parts too, right? Yeah. Like, how much should our vows be an expression of shadow? I know that I hurt you in these ways. You know, I know, like, you know.
Imagine if vows included shadow like that.
Shadow vows,
I've read some beautiful shadow vows.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I just thought, oh my gosh. Like, imagine to actually.
Yeah, even when I hate you and push you away, I still love you. You know, whatever. Like, amazing stuff. Actually, I had an in-law one the other night. It is concert season. If you have children of concert age, I have my last one tomorrow night. Thank fuck. We had one last night, I think, night before, I think. And my in-laws came with it. And I said to we had a clash. We had a clash of events. So my son was getting an award at his high school and it clashed with the girls' Christmas concert. So we had to divide and conquer, unfortunately. But it's the season.
Yes.
So you can't be all places at all times. Anyway, so somehow I ended up sitting, well, not somehow. I ended up sitting next to my mother-in-law. And I've said to my husband at every single event, I do not want to sit next to her next time. You have to sit next to her. And, you know, because she's the most well put together, prim, proper, like, elegant lady. And then you switch the lights off in a concert and she says the most un-PC things.
Oh, really?
To the point where I'm like flashing a look at my husband who's on the other side, like going, did you just hear that?
It's a shadow.
And afterwards I'll be like, can you believe she said that? And he's like, what?
He doesn't hear
He's
it.
like, I just tune her out.
Oh.
I'm like, well, I can't tune her out. So you have to sit next to her next time. So here I am. My husband's not here. So I'm the one.
So what does he do? Did you pick up people's outfits or like?
Oh, look, it's honestly too un-PC for me to even say on this podcast.
Oh my God.
But off the air.
I can't wait to hear about it off the air.
It's just like everyone has a shadow side, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Hers comes out to play in the dark at concerts.
It really, no, I'm not joking. It really does. Anyway, and she's an old school teacher, like her and my father-in-law, principals, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so everyone's, you know, they're doing the old thing that they do these days, which is that, you know, the leaders raise their hands and they wait for everybody to raise their hands
like
and
Hitler.
be quiet. Oh, sort of, I suppose, but it's just a hand in the air so that everyone puts their hands up and stops talking, you know.
Yeah.
Generally, it works quite well, but in when there's like so many people in a hall, it's not working so well. So my mother-in-law takes it upon herself to yell at the top of her voice, quiet down, you know, like this, to the point where like everyone looked at us and I was like mortified. And normally I would just stay mortified and be like, oh my God, I can't believe she just did that. Like what? You know, and create this whole like tension and angst and separation. And this time I was like, fuck that. I turned around and went, you need to pipe down. Like this. And then I laughed. I'm serious, pipe down. And she goes, oh, sorry, I just can't help it. I said, well, try. I didn't hear from her for the rest of the night.
You found the solution.
Right? Because I actually found my voice.
Yeah. And so how much was her like, you know, un-PC commentary really just like the like pushing the button. Yeah.
Like exactly, right? Like she's still my trainer for the yoga of my heart and soul because every edge she takes me to.
You're like, fucking fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Until I work it out enough in my body and create enough safety to be like, okay, this is next level me. And this is how this is going to roll. And when you're willing to enter that and push that energy a little bit back, things shift.
And it creates a nice boundary too.
Yeah. So as more of that as a context is like they always, right?
Never goes away.
But you've got to be able to have an understanding of how to see the world that way so that you're not creating hurt love upon hurt love and more distancing and more separation, as opposed to this is my growth, and when I stretch into this and use my tools to help myself with as much softness as I can to be here in this and move through all of my old stories that this emotion hits. Because it does, right? All of that stuff my mother-in-law hit for me is super old, like inferiority complexes that just stack through the lineage of my, you know, my life and certainly probably beyond that. So you've got to work your way kind of through all of that and stretch into new layers to be able to show up differently. But it's the same skill set, it's the same understanding of the world, but it's a constant practice.
And it's also stretching beyond the perceived safety of holding our position as true, because very often we can get stuck in like, well, I'm right and this is just my in-laws, they're just that, and you know, like they don't understand us, and you know, this is our way and they just need to see that this is how we're doing things, and you know, that almost desiring to create distance in order to not to feel the vulnerability and the hurt that you would have to feel to face what it is, that to face essentially their version of love being different to your own, which is so often the case, you know, with in-laws, is that the way that they love your children is not the way that you show love to your children, and therefore you make them wrong. And you make them wrong by distancing them and being unwilling to understand them. And yet we cut ourselves off from feeling more love when we do that. And we also impact the relationship that our kids can have with those people too, when we are either consciously or unconsciously creating that distance, I think. So it's powerful to transform what we want to push out and away as not us, and instead bring it inward and use the tools to be able to transform the feelings within our body and our reactions, and to widen more presence and openness to it. And, you know, and boundary setting, like you've done. And in that, you know, you're calling yourself into more power.
Yeah, which is all she's here to teach, right? The bully only appears when you need to find your power.
That's right. That's right.
It's not her doing anything to me. It's what I let her do, right? Like, ouch.
It's ouch. It's a big ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would love you to come and join Serenity Now with us. If you need a little bit of serenity now, like right now.
Like in this moment.
Yeah, you need a bit of Jedi, then that's definitely the place for you. So Tuesday and Thursday this week, we are running them in Soul-Driven Motherhood, and then they become available as a downloadable bundle. Both of those links you can find out about on our website or through social links. We would love for you to join us. We are making this super tangible, super easy, super practical, so you're not getting lost in all of the hubbub of speech. This is literally just practices, tools. Yeah. Do this, and you find the thing.
Examples of where you can use them, and just really what it looks like to be in your body and to create that transformation. And, you know, so they'll be delivered through Facebook, either obviously through Soul-Driven Motherhood or through the downloadable bundle. So even if you're on the car, on the way to like an hour-long trip to your family, you can pop your earphones in and have a listen and enter into that space with a lot more, you know, sense that you've got your own back, and that you can, you know, experience more love, I think, too. Experience more love that this time of year has to offer us.
100%. So, do you want to wrap us up?
Yes. So, to find out more about the Serenity Now Tool Kit, hop on to nourishingthemother.com.au, and you'll find it all there. Connect with you, Jules.
PleasureNutritionist.com and New Bridge.
Suburban Sandcastles.com. Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey. And if you want to support Nourishing the Mother and all the late nights, the early mornings, the blood, sweat and tears we pour into our art, then please go to patreon.com/NTM podcast and become our patron. As a patron, you're helping all of the cost of operating this podcast, the hosting, the editing, the transcription, helping all of that be completely covered, and joining a community who are all about honouring our journeys and continuing to open. The more support we have, the longer we can last. So become a patron. We'd love to have you. Go to patreon.com/NTM podcast. We literally couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening, and please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be medicine for.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.